If you are working responsible for technical development in what is it, 3 continents?
Yes.
I mean, come on. And how many workplaces could actually show that? So, I mean, the product working in the die casting industry should be quite easy to sell. My conclusion is that the only reason we have this conversation is that we are so incredibly useless when it comes to marketing of the die casting industry.
Yes, I'm pretty sure the industry is very introverted. Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. We have a good product. We have a nice process. We have a secured future because it doesn't matter if it goes left or right. What kind of, if it's an EV, a hybrid, or if it's still a combustion engine, you need die casting. Yeah. So it's a kind of security you have. But on the other hand, you have engineers and people loving this industry, but being somehow introverted. So we need to get to the point where we use social media as an example.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gold Casting podcast. Today we have another episode, the fourth in the series with the Eurogos Executive Circle. And today we have Eric Müller here, CTO of the Carlo Clutti Group. And today our topic will be industry marketing. And Eric has a few strong opinions on that, and we'd like to share them with you. So welcome, Eric, to the podcast.
Thanks.
It's great that you're here. Can you give a short introduction about yourself?
I was basically born in a foundry. My mother is working in a foundry. My father was working in a foundry. I was starting to play some soccer, right? And on my shirt was written Martin Ria Honsel or Honsel back at this time. So there was no way out. I had a couple of stations. I was studying mechanical engineering with foundry technology, then positions like production manager, head of sales, as well as development. Then I was a COO. And now I'm the CTO of the new Carlo Group for the high pressure die casting business since 5 years with a global footprint. So it's interesting to discuss with you guys as well how you see the market developing in terms of young talents. I'm looking forward to give you a feedback how we see the world as well and what we could do as a team together to attract young people.
Interesting. Thank you for that introduction, Eric. Now, getting into the subject of today, industry marketing, we have a definition from Eurogos 365, which was the basis of your discussion around the table, and it goes like this. Communication has standardized the modern image of the die casting industry to increase its reach, organizing of customer events with the entire value chain, joint approach and promoting through strategic marketing measures, active cooperation with associations to support regulations and funding. Pretty broad, so we, however, get it, but we are extremely curious. How did the discussion go around the table when you were at the circle?
It has been pretty interesting, but main of all, we are all on the same page that basically we need to understand how to attach earlier young talents in order to get them into our industry. Let's talk about casting overall, right? So it's still a kind of old school, right? When I started in the foundry, everybody thought it's a black hole and it's dirty and you're sweating 24/7 and you need to work hard, which is, by the way, still the same. You still need to work hard, but it's somehow cleaner than what they thought in the past. And this was interesting. When I was studying mechanical engineering with foundry technology, it was like a very small group of people, right? They were attached from the foundry already before out of different angles. This was one topic which we have discussed, but as well that the die casting, especially now in the transformation we are to EVs, is all over the place. So without this kind of industry, without this kind of material, we are not going to make this transformation. So, and we are not sure, and we were not sure if everybody, and when I talk about everybody, I talk about younger people, like between 16 and 20, if they're aware that this kind of industry, as well as the material, is the future, right? So it was a quite interesting discussion we had. And another topic, which I can say out of my perspective, but most of the people agreed to this in this discussion, is that as a young engineer, if you want to make some, let's say, career, I'm not sure if the young people still want to do this kind of steps, but if they want, the foundry industry is a great place to be because with the right approach, right commitment, as well as the right flexibility and intelligence, you are able to have a nice career path because the people are missing all over the place, not only in Germany. I would say we have a plant in North America, they're missing there. We have a plant in China as well as in Sweden and Czech Republic, Austria. They are missing everywhere. If you look for a young foundry engineer, it's usually not easy to get them. So that's the problems we are in, which is getting more difficult in the future. So we need to react somehow. That was the basic discussion we had. So how to put the right focus and the right marketing on this industry to show the young talents that it's going to be very interesting in the future and secure.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty safe to say that the die casting industry, at least in Europe, is very quiet about what we're doing. I mean, people don't know about us. Every time we go to a dinner party, I try to explain die casting, with a plate, a napkin, and a fork, and it's always impossible. But everybody knows pretty much more about other processes and other industries, which is sad. So the question is, what to do about it? I mean, where to start? How to formulate a solution? I guess there is not one solution. There has been many, but how do we do this?
First of all, we have seen in Berlin a couple of years ago that was the start of gigacasting. There was a kind of hype and it was everywhere. So somebody did the right thing in order to promote this kind of technology. This helped us a lot. So what we need to do now, we need to go ahead and we need to keep going and talking about this industry. But before talking, we need to understand what kind of people we want to talk about. Yeah. What do they want? Yeah, what's our target? What's their aim? What do they want to do in the future? And how to attract them to put their energy and their future into this kind of business. And I think there is not, as you said, Stefan, there is not one answer. There are more answers and more solutions. But I think we need to work together in this industry, especially like in the European die casting network where we have been coming together. I mean, every country has committees of casting and whatnot. We need to speed this kind of things up because the average age in the foundry is going to be older and older, and we are going to have a problem if this is not going to change in the future. So first of all, let's try to understand the people we wanted to attach.
But I guess it's all kind of people. I guess it's young people for apprenticeships. There are people going to university to more high level classes. I guess it's also external people from other
absolutely
other industries.
100%. But, I mean, if we focus as well on the young people, which are now in school and they are going to decide what to study, this would be already a very good approach, I guess. Because, I mean, let's be honest, if you start to study the IT direction, so you are in this flow, you get used to your work, you know what you're talking about, you get self-confident, as soon as you're in, it's not easy to move them to another industry. So talking about myself, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be in the foundry for a long time. So to change to another industry now is not easy because you lose your contacts, you lose a little bit of your self-confidence because you need to learn new things. To make a decision in a casting now is easier because you know the business. If you don't know the business, it's not easy.
I can take myself as an example. I tried to step out of the casting industry many times. I started in 1997, and I've been a manager in other industries. But you know something about die casting, and that is so rare. So people call you. I'm not saying I'm the best expert in the world. I'm not saying I am an expert at all. But even though people call you back time after time, so I think I reverted back 4 times, and then I gave up and started the 5th time at Comtech.
Oh, mate, until now you're pretty successful. So keep going and stay with us together in the foundry. We will all be happy, I guess.
I can also add my story to that. For me, ending up in the foundry was quite a bit of an accident because I applied for an internship at Mercedes-Benz and someone from a foundry called me. And I said, okay, I don't know much about foundry, no black hole, liquid metal. And we talked a bit and it sounded interesting. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And then I was hooked to the foundry world. But it would never happen if they haven't called me back and said, hey, that sounds really interesting what you have in your CV. Let's have a talk. And I think I'm pretty sure that I won't leave the foundry world. So we have to get that initial hook in.
Yeah.
Yes, 100% agree. I mean, for me, it's totally different. If somebody tells me he doesn't know the foundry or doesn't know die casting, so I'm the like kind of guy to say, what do you mean you don't know this? How's possible? So, and every time when I see someone else moving to, from the other industry to our industry, I give them some congratulations that this was the right move, and now he can be, he starts his career from now, like. I mean, but Foundry people are usually very proud about what they are doing, right? If you talk to Foundry people and you fly from plant to plant, they are proud to be in this industry. And what we need to do is to share why are the people so proud to be part of this kind of industry, right? So we can be proud. I mean, we are a big part of the transformation. But I'm not sure if everybody shares the same, which is the reason we talk about this here now. So let's try to understand what kind of aim the young talents have in the future. How do they see the world of working in the future? Yeah. How do they think it's going to be in 10 years from now? But I think, nevertheless, this is what I earned from my parents, and you probably learned the same, is it doesn't matter what you do. For earning money, you need to work. You need to give an added value to everybody in order to be successful and earn what you're expecting. It doesn't matter what kind of industry you are, I guess.
But let's revert back a little bit and make a semi-conclusion here. We are sitting here in a very proud industry. We are in the midst of a technical transformation where more knowledge is needed because of new alloys, new applications, according to the EVs. And then you have Telecom 5G as well. You are pointing at an international career. You are working and responsible for technical development in what is it, 3 continents?
Yes.
I mean, come on. And how many workplaces could actually show that? So, I mean, the product working in the die casting industry should be quite easy to sell. My conclusion is that the only reason we have this conversation is that we are so incredibly useless when it comes to marketing of the die casting industry.
Yes, I'm pretty sure the industry is very introverted. Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. We have a good product. We have a nice process. We have a secured future because it doesn't matter if it goes left or right. What kind of, if it's an EV, a hybrid, or if it's still a combustion engine, you need die casting. Yeah. So it's a kind of security you have. But on the other hand, you have engineers and people loving this industry, but being somehow introverted. So we need to get to the point where we use social media as an example. Okay, to be honest, now I will tell you something. I'm the worst example because I don't use TikTok, I don't use Instagram, I don't use Snapchat or whatever it is. So maybe it's not 100% correct to say we need to talk about this and I still learn how to use this in the future. But I think this is the future to get into contact to young people, right?
I can give you a hint. You just mentioned where they are currently. I don't know if TikTok will be the platform in 2 years or 3 years. Things are moving fast. But I can assure you, this is where you need to be right now for catching young people.
And we have a couple of companies. I mean, companies in the industry, they do a good job, right, to attract people. They have a good marketing development. They have people taking care. But for sure, the companies are taking care about their interest. They want to get the people on board, right? So we probably all know what needs to be done. The question is what we as an industry could do in order to do it together, and make die casting great again.
I love that expression, but that's another story.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think, as you mentioned, the most important part is to get in the eyes of our target group, which is the young people. And you have to produce then content on these platforms that resonates. And I think it should be super easy if you open the doors, start filming what a high-pressure die casting machine does and how cool is it to work, what you can impact, and get the molten metal somehow into a part that now has a purpose. And if you're not just filming the process and saying, here you have that and have that and have that, so make it interesting in a way that it's in a first-person perspective from an apprentice, from an engineer, how I design it, how I impact it, and then what comes out of it.
I would like to comment on that. I think the big fishing hook here, I know when I started my first real job after university and some PhD studies, I was so proud. Every time we were driving on the highway, I pointed on an antenna and said, hey, that's my work. That's a 3G Omni antenna. And the kids go like, oh yeah, oh yeah. That being proud of the end product. And now we see a car industry where a Tesla is more a brand than a vehicle. It's more something else than just a car for the younger generation. And I think being able to make the link, we are actually helping out developing this car or this product. I think that is a very strong fishing hook.
I do 100% agree. I mean, go back to a couple of years ago when we all were around 25, so it's like 2-3 years ago.
Thank you.
Where it's because of the haircut. Think about we had a car. I wanted to have a driver license so bad. I wanted to drive a car, and it was important for me to have a 1.2 liter Peugeot instead of a 1 liter because you have a 14 horsepower more, right? And this is what we discussed about, right? We had at the sound, yeah, absolutely. I put some holes in my exhaust system to make it louder because I didn't have money when I was studying, so it doesn't matter. It didn't end up well. But anyhow, I mean, we know how the car was functioning because we were interested and we were discussing about these things. What's happening today? So, I mean, we talk about the range of the battery. Does the younger generation still understand fully how a car is functioned? Yeah. And if not, maybe this is the way it goes right now. But that means for us, we need to change our mindset, how to attract them, right? If you show me a V8 engine block, V6 engine block, or whatever, I love it. I could talk about this 24/7. But now it's something else. They don't see a car like to meet each other on the gas station together and talk about the car. They don't want it anymore. They want to go from A to B, and that's it, right? So how to make them understand that without casting, they will not go from A to B. Yeah, they will not have a big screen in the car with a navigation system. They will not have fancy stuff, in the car without, let's say, a screen as an example.
They're also unable to use TikTok outside their homes, as most of the antennas, the housings of them, are hyper-shot die casting parts.
Yeah.
See? You know what? We get back to the discussion that it's quite obvious that we are older than 25. So let's really think about what needs to be done. Who should do this, right? What needs to be done is clear. If we are here together, we think should do this, this, and this, and this. But how to do it? And this is what we are discussing right now as well in the European Die Casting Network. That's what we discuss in the German Foundry Association and the Swedish Foundries Association, and all of this. We talk about this, but the question is how to walk the talk.
I think it is, if I might try to make an introduction that you can shoot down. First of all, we are speaking about 3 different groups of people that we would like to address. I mean, first one, the one we would like to employ. Then we have a new generation of young engineers designing castings with topology and new softwares, and they don't know anything about casting. I know because I meet them every day. You don't need to comment your customers, Eric. The third thing is actually governments and regulator bodies, as it's called in proper English. So what I'm saying is that it's great if we start to do things on TikTok, but I think we need a full Monty, if I put it like that. I would say like this: a great information platform that can derive from the 16-year-old with purple hair to lobbying. Because what I hear when I try to scratch on this, when I talk with people in the lobbying organizations, sheet metal guys, super strong. Extrusion guys, super strong. Foil guys, super strong. Alloy producers, super strong. Casting, silent. That's how we are positioned in the corridors of power. So if I combine all my yada, yada, yada now, I see designers that needs to understand casting is a process. I see politicians that are not aware of the impact of die casting for product development and employments. And I see a total lack of creating an employer market. So a platform is needed. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I do agree. If you look at the content of hyper-shot die casting of aluminium in the future cars, it's going to increase. So The problem is this is going to increase, so it drives the transformation. On the other hand, you're missing the people who understands how to design the parts and how to put efforts in it to get a good casting out of it.
You already see it today when you look at, for example, the new Audi. Audi was the first one doing castings for structural applications. Now you find 2 shock towers in the whole car. That's the only castings you can find in the new Audis. So they did a full turn back from, hey, we were do all in casting, to go back to, oh yeah, we do have some relicts of casting. And I think educating about what casting can do and then implementing it, because you have many that learn in this university studies, okay, hyper die casting, and they have some old material from some 2 to 6 brackets with 1% elongation, and that's the knowledge they stick with in hyper die casting, which is more than 30 years old knowledge.
So first of all, and this is something which we can be proud of once again, is that casting is the oldest way of manufacturing. There was no sheet metal. There was casting before. Okay. So that means there's a reason why this is that old, and there is a reason why it will keeps continuing to be a good solution for parts. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong to go in the direction of casting, sheet metals, or whatever we are talking about. I think every product has the right to be there. Okay, there is a reason behind. But you're right, Stefan. If you talk about not our competitors, our colleagues from the other industries, they do somehow a better job. Because if you look at the new generation comes up, they're going into these directions as well, some here and there. Yeah, if you talk to universities, I mean, I can just talk about Germany. So that's where I live, and that's where I was grown up. So if you look at the university, we started maybe with 10 or 15 people in the, when we focused on foundry technology. Yeah, maybe now it's 5. But why? And this is the question we need to answer. So what we need to do, first of all, is, again, let's try to define what kind of people we want to attach. Let's define as a group together, as an industry, how we can attach them, with what kind of material, and then let's do it. We need to publish things, we need to use podcasts like this, we need to be more active, and that means for everybody, we need to go an extra mile. And who wants to go an extra mile today? We are not getting paid for going an extra mile. But if we are proud of this industry, we need to go an extra mile. We need to put some more hours work into it in order to be successful and secure the future.
Yeah, we need to explain to the surrounding world why we should exist, besides a part and an invoice and a payment. Because it's so much more. It's about product development. It's about employment. It is about a lot of things. And it freaks me out that I don't see more. Or let me put it this way. I'm very happy that the Eurogas 365 took the opportunity, created this executive circle and started discussions. And I'm so curious of what will actually come out of it and when we see the first deliveries out of it.
Yeah. It's important. I mean, we will have another meeting at the end of January. We previously discussed about steps now we want to do, because now we think we know what needs to be done, and now we need to give it a trial. If we try it and we're not successful, okay, then we need to change our approach and we need to try it again. But it doesn't matter what, we need to do something. So that's what we will discuss next time, where one of the biggest part is how to attract and how to, first of all, our customers aware about the European die casting network again, because here and there it's not easy as well as a European company to get a hold of potential new customers, okay, which are coming from China as an example. Yeah, just look at Hungary, how much car producer will build their facilities there. Yeah,
and Romania and Czech.
As an example. So that means we, as a European die casting network, we can support them as well in order to be successful on our European continent. But we need to secure, on the other hand, our knowledge, and we need to secure that we have a future knowledge. Because without people behind us who wants to have our job, who are committed, who wants to start, we have a problem anyhow. So
I think it's worse actually, and this is why I think we need to recruit more people, because you can always blame and whine and say, okay, in China they have subsidiaries and yada yada yada, but now they're moving into Europe. They with the same legislation, same salaries, same everything. So how do you compete? Well, with time and know-how.
100%
time
agree.
and know-how. And how do you get know-how? I just learned that the average age in a German foundry is 47 years, and the amount of people 60, 61, 62, 63, whatever you retire, is slightly about 20%. So every fifth guy is retiring before 2030. And
That's crazy.
2030, my friends, is the start of the next development of the next platforms, basically, in general terms speaking. And this freaks me out because if you look at the gigacasting, everybody says that, yeah, sure, now they have a solution. That's financial people. You do like a matchbox car and you have two pop, and then you have a car. I see a platform that is going to develop like crazy the next 15 years. Flow length, design elements, alloys, requirements, blah, 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 blah. And who's to do it? You cannot just do a topology study and then all of a sudden you have the perfect casting. It has to be a good bunch of casting people leading and supporting this development. And this is the way into the competition.
100%. I mean, this out of a view from a mid-size, or let's say we are big foundries so far with 5 plants as well as 100 die casting machines. We have around 2,000 people, 2,500 people working in die casting. So, but not in Germany, right? We have it basically everywhere. So it's interesting from country to country to see as well how it develops. But it doesn't matter. We need to keep the knowledge in-house. And when I say in-house, we need to make sure that we have strong engineers as well in the future in order to be, as a European die casting, successful. Because otherwise, we lose a whole industry step by step. It's going to be taken over somehow, however it looks like. But this is just a very, let's say, bad look in the future in order to make everybody aware that it's time to act now.
Yeah, especially when you look that in the future, you already see it now on the portals. If it's the 27th iteration of a part, you have no chance competing as a European company to get the pricing right, to get the offer. But what you have to do is now you have to be more of a service provider to go to your design owner. Hey, how can we improve that? Which parts can we connect to each other to make a bigger casting that fits their machine size and also brings in innovation, cost savings, while having good margin for all of the participants on that. And I think that's the way forward, because if it's commoditized, you're out in Europe because of the pricing.
And then going back to the comment about government support in however this looks like, but one is a matter of fact. There will be no transition without die casting in the transport sector. No way.
Here.
So that means we need to have a focus on this. But again, I'm not sure if we have the right people on the right places here and there in order to do the lobby work as well, because it needs to be done. So it's going to be quite interesting. So if the average year is 47 in the foundry, I'm still 10 years younger than 47. So that means for the next 30 years, I would like to work in the die casting. So let's see what we can do in order to be successful as well in 30 years. Otherwise, I open a podcast as an example for another industry.
You're welcome. I would like to comment on this governmental thing. I know I threw around this a lot, and to dear listeners and to you, Eric and Fabian, I'm not meaning subsidiaries and piles of money to survive. I think that is the wrong way to go. But there are 2 areas where I really feel we need to be represented. And first of all, it is about education. To maybe scrape off some grants for universities and others to get this recruitment going. That's one thing. The second thing is regulations. I mean, you see the CBAM, as it's developed right now, if you import castings, you have to pay CBAM tax if it's a carbon dioxide driver. However, if you put some bolts and nuts and a cable on it, it's an assembly, so then it's zero. The next version will come pretty soon, etc., etc. And the work with those regulations is so important. We're speaking about 3-4 guys making a tremendous difference for the European die casting industry. So this is why I'm saying policies and regulatory demands from governmental bodies is so extremely important if you look at what's happening now. I can give you a very clear example. For the normal die casting, this has nothing to do with anything because you're still using the same kind of alloy, same kind of carbon dioxide emissions, etc. But as soon as you look at something with a high elongation, you're talking about what? Aluminum silicon 7. And there you go. You're into primaries from Asia. The taxation will be crazy. So this is why it's so important. And I would like to see, I hope to see, end of 2025, someone presenting the lobbying group for die casting. 2, 3,
Agree.
4 men and women that have a full-time job to make sure that regulations that are pulled through in the European community is in our favor, because there's a trade war out there. Not only China, we have this Make Great Again guy over there in the West as well. We see things happening in Canada, we see things happening all over the place. So in this trade war, our organization is that big that we must have a very effective lobbying work.
Yep. And I mean, probably, and this will be everybody who is listening to this, there will be people who do this for their countries, but we need to get somehow together in order to define a strategy as well. There is probably a strategy, but I can't feel the strategy so far. Maybe it's just me who doesn't feel it, but it's quite obvious, right? So just, I mean, you're right. So industry marketing is what you said in the beginning. It's not only young people and young talents. It's as well to make everybody aware without casting, you're not going anywhere. Okay, you can use your feet. You don't need casting, but if you go more than 5 kilometers, it's going to be a problem. And you have the politicians. So we have 3 topics let's say 3 target areas to be successful in order to secure the future. So it's 12 o'clock now. So we need to react. We need to do something.
When we're thinking about it, we should think when we're ironing our shirts, because in the iron, it's still a die casting. So even there, you are affected by die casting.
See? Okay.
Go fishing, the equipment is die casted, everything.
Yeah, there are so many things, and especially if you look at the opportunity, when you put out interesting content, you will reach people that design parts and say, hey, why don't we look into casting? And you get new applications in, which you probably need as you have the transitioning from ICE cars to EVs, and then you see also a drop of volume, that the article numbers go down, that you go down from 1,600 per car to somewhere around 500, 400 article numbers. At the same time, the volume of aluminium is going up per car. So you have to find different applications to keep your article numbers in your foundry. And I think with the right marketing, you reach all of them, probably a bit different content.
I was speaking with customers in the solar energy sector yesterday, as a matter of fact, and it turns out that they've been using extrusion way too far because they didn't know much about die casting. I mean, they were not helped by going to any random die caster, because then they needed to have a drawing and blah, 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 blah. But if they have met us in the beginning, I'm not saying that we're super, but we know something. Someone who can talk about, thermal conductivity, fin height, fin thickness, die casting machine size, and give a rough quote over the phone, more or less. They probably would have, 20 tools by now.
And we would need to be more flexible. We need to have another mindset, because there is a reason why there are Chinese car builders. They built smartphones last year, and now they build cars because they're doing things. I mean, if it's always right, I don't know. We will see in the future how right they have been in terms of making fast decisions and copying technology and just go ahead and just do it. Because we usually think, if we go to our foundries, sometimes as engineers, we think we need to reinvent the wheel. So we need to start from zero. No, take something you have already, optimize it a little bit, and go for it, right? Don't think too much. And this is still maybe a European problem, that we overthink things. Yeah. Usually it takes a lot of time. And then you come to the point where it's not going to be interesting anymore, and you focus on something else. So you lose the focus. Yeah. Sometimes we just need to do things.
Especially if you go back to each of the foundries we know today, if they look back on their first casting, see how simple that was, and still what a problem that was for the foundry at that time. Now it's the same thing, but for marketing, you have to start somewhere, get out the volumes, see the reactions, adapt, and then showcase what you're great for and what you stand for. And then brand yourself as a cool company that is innovative, can deliver outstanding results, and then follow through.
Yes. I give you an example. I have been at a customer from us, and I have seen engines, the engine development from 1940, 60, 80, and so on and so on. And for sure, we always produce somehow porosity because it's physically not possible to reduce them to zero, unfortunately. So if I look at the engines, like 30 years ago, at least what I've seen there was a big porosity, on top of the part. but the engine was working, and the engine is probably still working today.
Yeah.
And today, as an example, the porosity needs to be smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until you have an engineer who comes from, I don't know, another industry in this case, and tells you, yeah, but I'm expecting zero there. So that's why we need to get even more the focus on people with knowledge in this, because, I mean, if you look back, the casting industry was bigger than what we have today in terms of know-how. They know what they talk about. They say, if there is a porosity, I don't care, the engine is working anyhow. Okay. Today, if there is a porosity, you have 15 engineers talking about this. We have risk analyzed. Yeah? We have claims, we have a field call, we have this problem and that problem. Hundreds of people are talking about, and in the end, if you really put the people together who understand the part, they are going to tell you, you know what, it's not a big deal. Yeah. And this is where we lose a lot of time and money as well with this kind of discussions.
But you're pointing on something. Our takeaway from the context side, we had a big discussion with this, me and Mr. Jansson the other day, and he said something about margin. And my take on this is that if you look at the other competitors to European companies, they have a much lesser overhead. So the brute margin they are having on each vehicle is actually lesser. They don't need to carry around that many percentages on top of everything because of, excuse my language, lean Talibans and administration on administration. Because if you look at those towers that we have built up and the processes in Europe, they are slowing down and killing innovation, and they're making everything more expensive. So what do you actually get out of it? I'm curious, actually, because I think I could strike out 2/3 of all of these meetings over the years, and we'll still produce the same damn part in our foundry.
100% agree. And I mean, sometimes you produce parts where you have a problem with and you don't know it because you simply cannot see it. After, I don't know, 100,000 kilometers, the engine is still running and there is no problem at all. And then someone in the line sees one small mistake on the part or whatever, and then you have make a big deal out of it. So, and then you start to burn money, which is then the reason you get, as a foundry, you get, I mean, we don't have quality issues at all, as you probably know, as every foundry would say. No, but you get all of this back, right? You need to work on this, and this you need to put into account when you calculate a new product. And then I think we should not open the topic of margin, because then we could spend another 3 hours talking about margin and what's necessary to be sufficient in a foundry.
But I'm not giving up on the margin discussion. Let me rephrase myself like this. Before, having a high margin in a die casting shop was to be in a low labor country and have a high uptime and capacity usage of your die cast machine. These were the two main factors. Nowadays, low cost labor is not that available more because we're competing in the European region due to the trade wars. So we have to find something else. And then, of course, high utilization is still the king and the key to get that profit in the end of the day. But I think this is changing. I think the way to defend a margin will be different from now on.
I mean, I learned that this is 13 years ago, that you earn money in a foundry with a good OEE. Yeah. You earn money if you have a good margin on the dies. Which, by the way, if customer listen to this now, we have zero margin on the dies typically. And then you have margin on the material. Okay. So, and then if you're good, you have a huge content of CNC machining where you really earn money. And then you're a successful foundry. Yeah. But today, if a customer asks for a raw part, you lose this pin. Then the raw part is, let's say, raw part, you're 100% linked to aluminium, so you cannot be successful on buying maybe the aluminium at the right time, so you lose money on this. Then the margin is close to zero on the dies, so then you get it up with an OEE. So, and if we talk to people and talking about OEE, I love people saying, coming to a foundry first, oh, why is your OEE 65% or 60%? It should be 80. No, it's, it's possible for a couple of machines, but if you have 100 machines with 500 different products, so how to keep it up? Good luck. This is what everybody on the other side, on the customer side, needs to understand as well, how this works in a foundry and to be sufficient. Because with an EBITDA of 7-8%, you're not going to be successful long term. Because if you need to reinvest, it doesn't help you. You need to get the money from somewhere, and then you start to having the problems.
And this is an investment-intense industry. I mean, think about 100%. It, the cost of a die casting machine.
Yeah.
But it's the perfect argument to start the marketing campaign to get new people on one side, but also get new products and get people more interested into high pressure die casting that haven't even considered it today. To get new products, to get back one of three these margin bringers because they don't know too much about it and still get a product that solves their problem. They get a better and cheaper option, and you're still making money. And I think.
But this is a thing I never understood really. You know, I'm an old telecom guy, and we used to say that the casting of a telecom part is like making a Danish smørrebrød. You have a thin piece of bread. On top of it, you put, you know, goose liver and pickles and salad. There's a 95% of value on top of that rye bread, right? And then you speak about shock towers and stuff. And what you do, you cast them, trim them, and maybe you do a very quick surface treatment. Maybe you drill 3-4 holes into it. I mean, the topping of that loaf of bread is almost nothing. But everybody's going this direction. And I found it so amusing. I mean, I understand you need good elongation, you get good mechanical properties. I mean, that's the key to be successful in that field. But anyway, anyhow, how fast will the competition grow in that sector?
Fast. I mean, if you go 10 years back, probably a shock tower was a very big, nice part as well for, let's say, German foundries or whatever. Mm-hmm. But now it's a commodity business. Now you have too much competitor. This is copy-paste. But going back to what Fabian said, I mean, you're right. So if we can get some more talented people in our industry, we can maybe gain out of this commitment and interest in the industry other solutions, which brings us to potential other solutions and new parts, which means we could produce something which is not existing maybe on the market right now, which gives us a huge benefit in order to be successful and not just doing the same shock tower the next 10, 15 years again. Yeah, all over.
But that requires a flexibility in imagination. And to be a little bit negative, I think every second foundry is unable to cope with it. And why do I say it? Well, because I have the proof. I worked pretty much with telecom, and they tried several times. Last time we in 2024 to get more suppliers from the automotive into telecom for casting big heat sinks, and they failed because all these foundries went to the office of these guys and then explained how die casting is made and the lead times you have to guarantee and how a forecast is made. So they said thank you, but no thank you. And these were pretty big names, I can tell you, and it surprised me that we are so stuck in our own culture that we go to someone who's buying for a couple of billions euros, and we still are not humble enough to realize this is another industry. I said, sit down, shut my mouth, and listen on how this is done, and then see if I can cope with it.
I agree. So, nevertheless, the result is we need to do something. We need to optimize, but again, to make steps and be successful in let's say, optimizing the marketing of this kind of industry, we need to get together as different companies. It's the toolmaker, it's the machine builder, it's the foundries, it's the alloy. We need to get together and we need to think about what to do. Otherwise, we are going to have a problem for sure.
Great ending words, I would say.
Definitely, and also the perfect transition to the invitation to the next executive circle that will be in July, where definitely there will be a lot of discussions and also, I think, the production of the first action items.
It must be the target. We need to walk the talk.
Perfect.
Here. So thank you very much for being with us today, Eric Miller. I know that your schedule is very full, and that you took this time with us, and we look forward to see you in the next circle meeting in this summer.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next episode. Bye.
Farväl.